When people talk about financial literacy, what do you think they mean? And do you do when you hear it in terms of your own behavior? We'll talk about that this week.
Make Better Wealth Decisions, a podcast that explores how financial advisors' blind spots can harm your investments. I'm your host, John DeGuy, a portfolio manager with Design Securities in Toronto. In this podcast, we'll provide advice on how you can achieve better outcomes by maximizing investments and minimizing taxes. Let's put our thinking caps on as we consciously decide to get smarter about our money.
All right. So, we recently had a conversation with a consumer advocate who talks about financial literacy and what's going on here in Ontario in terms of regulatory reforms and things that are being done to draw attention to regulators in helping them understand what consumers do know and what consumers don't know. And the news is oftentimes a bit disappointing, to say the least. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people get taken advantage of, not because of even things that are nefarious and evil or sneaky, but rather because things are just not disclosed clearly, or and oftentimes they're being said in such a way that things that are highly important seem as though they're almost insignificant. And so people who have busy lives don't flag them. The example that is used more often than not is that of the importance of cost. People should always know that cost is an extremely important determinant of investment returns, and that the more you pay for a product, the less you're going to get to keep. And in fact, in the immortal words of John Bogle of Vanguard, you get what you don't pay for. So in other lines of work, if you want to get a great tie or a great TV set, it's probably going to cost you a bit more to get a great one rather than just a good one or even just an okay one. But when it comes to financial products, if you're buying an investment product, a mutual fund or an exchange traded fund or a specialty product of some sort, more often than not, the products that cost the most return the least, precisely because those high costs are a factor in your returns and they eat into your returns. What you should be doing as a person who is investing, whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or a person who works with an advisor, is you should be taking a few moments to getting yourself up to speed with a few rudimentary things. For instance, learn the lingo. I know that a lot of people have complained that there are a lot of acronyms in personal finance, but if you don't know what, say, an MER is, management expense ratio, then you should know, because that's a material consideration to what we talked about just a moment ago. You should understand that an RRSP, registered retirement savings plan, gives you a deduction on the way in, but when you take money out, it's taxable in your hands as if it was regular income. Conversely, a TFSA, a tax-free savings account, allows you to put in after-tax dollars, have it grow tax-free, and have you pay no tax when you withdraw the money from the tax-free savings account as well. These are basic things that people should understand, whether they're working with a financial advisor or not, because knowledge is power. And if you can take a few moments to gain a basic level of personal understanding about how personal finance works, it will go a long way in helping you to make better wealth decisions. I'm acquainted with David Chilton, who is also known to many of you as the Wealthy Barber. If you get a chance to read one or two books, you might want to read either The Wealthy Barber or The Wealthy Barber Returns. These are books that are, in the first case, The Wealthy Barber was a runaway sensation. It was, I think, the best selling book in Canada, in Canadian history, but it's a bit dated now because it's almost 30 years old. The Wealthy Barber Returns was written maybe more than 10 years ago as an update, because in the ensuing 20 years between the first book and the second, David realized that the world had changed and that mutual funds might not always be the best vehicle for investors, and that a lot of people would be better off using exchange traded funds. The important thing is here, oftentimes it's the behavior. Are you setting aside money aside on a regular basis, perhaps monthly or perhaps every pay, as part of the pay yourself first discipline? That would be the sort of thing that people can and should be doing to have good behavior, to make better wealth decisions, so that they can not worry about the day-to-day gyrations or week-to-week or month-to-month gyrations in capital markets, but that they know that they're making sensible decisions based on a suitable asset mix that suits their profile, their risk tolerance, their need for liquidity, and so forth. These are the sorts of things that consumer advocates are constantly trying to get you to get better at, but they can't do it alone. The fact of the matter is, you have to meet people halfway. And there are a lot of things that the industry does that obfuscate how people think and deflect and use some sleight of hand to get people thinking that, oh, this is fine. And they'll talk about the bells and whistles of a product, as a for instance, without talking about the risks, the limitations, the costs, the problems that could arise. These are the sorts of things that you, and this is, think of it as if you were buying a car. You don't just want to know what the make and model is. You don't just want to take it out for a test drive. You're going to want to know about safety ratings and resale value and mileage and those sorts of things. And you don't have to, I'm not a car guy, but I still had to do some rudimentary due diligence before I bought a car earlier this year, because it was the sort of thing that I knew was important. And I tried to get myself up to speed to ask at least a few decent, sensible questions. My point to you is that as you try to make better wealth decisions, you need to do what you can to arm yourself with at least some rudimentary information so that you can go into any kind of a discussion and hopefully do a better job of holding your own and asking better questions of the people you're getting advice from, but also to be able to see through them when they're giving you a sales pitch instead of something which is meaningful and tangible that you can use for your own circumstances going forward. I hope that helps.
John DeGuy is a portfolio manager with Design Securities in Toronto. The views expressed in this program are not to be construed as specific advice. It is recommended that you consult a qualified advisor before taking action. His books, The Professional Financial Advisor 4, Stand Up to the Financial Services Industry, and Bullshift are available through Amazon and in bookstores throughout Canada. You can reach John at 647-STAND-UP. That's 647-782-6387 or at jdeguy@designedsecurities.ca.